Chapter 17 Seeking Answers. The sounds of mirth rang through the bedroom as Twilight and Trixie sat, giggling companionably upon the couch, slipping from their classes and chattering whenever they found a pause for breath. You're not serious, Twilight said between giggles. You call him old man because his forehead wrinkles when he smiles? It used to, Trixie corrected with a smile and a shake of her head. He probably does that, doesn't he, anymore? When we were children, he used to get really riled up about it. Believe it or not, he used to throw some very amusing tantrums. Twilight gave a snort to believe. But that's terrible. You teased him about his looks? Oh, come on, Twilight. When we were children, it was all fun, really. Besides, it's not like he didn't have nicknames for me as well. Oh, said Twilight, intent to pert, such as... Trixie opened her mouth and closed it, then quickly turned her head away. I don't remember. Twilight gave a little chuckle, punctuated by a loud hiccup that made her cover her mouth with her hoof. She hadn't noticed it now, but her wine glass was nearly empty again, and has become succinct. She magically looked at the bottle and topped her own glass up, before doing the same for Trixie's. Noticing the gesture, the showmare flashed a smile and raised the glass to her lips. So, is that enough of an answer to satisfy your inquisitive nature, Twilight Sparkle? She asked. Or do you have more questions about Trixie's past with Flair? Hey, it's not my fault you have a complicated history, Twilight threw back with a chuckle. Trixie scoffed lightly. As if yours is any simpler. Miss Librarian, Princess Assistant, Element of Magic. Okay, so we're both complicated, said Twilight with a roll of her eyes. Well, still, you know what I mean. I was just starting to think there might be some dark secret behind that nickname. Trixie raised her brows, sparked, such as... Oh, I don't know. Maybe that the two of you were actually immortal unicorns who grew up together 1,000 years ago, and the story you told me was just made up. Or maybe that Flair is actually a parasitic life form that has been possessing ponies across generations since the dawn of time. Trixie got out of twirl. I think some ponies had too much wine. Twilight threw out her mock glare. I'll have you know I can hold my liquor very well, she said, taking another defiant sip of her drink. Then she giggled loudly, listening another giggle from Trixie. You know, Twilight, said the showmare, just because a lot of things in our lives are complicated doesn't mean that nothing can be simple. I mean, take the two of us, for example. Regarding her glare in favor of a tricked smile, Twilight shuffled further into the couch pillows and waited for her partner to continue. We met. You saved me. I ran off, Trixie said coolly. Then I came back. You gave me a place to stay. We became friends. And now here we are. Simple. Twilight couldn't help but giggle at the self-assured smirk on Trixie's face. Sorry to burst your bubble, Trixie, but it wasn't that simple at all. Trixie smirked more to the lopsided frown. There was a short, thoughtful pause before she spoke again. Okay, maybe not. She flashed Twilight a smile. But it's simple now, isn't it? With Trixie and Twilight, we're, She trailed off, obviously struggling to find the words. She screwed up her eyes in concentration, looking almost pained. Twilight decided to take mercy on her. A team! Twilight said firmly. Yes! Said Trixie, smiling again. We're a great and powerful team! And today, not only have we defeated a bloodthirsty, raging chimera, she levitated the wine ball to her glass and shook out the last few drops, but we have also vanquished an entire bottle of Maidenhead's finest champagne! Yep! Twilight brought a hope to cover her mouth, and the bottle slipped from her grasp. Twilight dramatically caught it before it hit the ground, though it was hard to concentrate with the giggles bubbling up her chest. Well, she said, setting the bottle down gently, we certainly do work too well together. I can't imagine going out there doing all that with no punny else, especially not in front of all those people. Trixie smiled warmly. Neither can I. For a long moment, they just smiled at one another, until Trixie cleared her throat and looked at her glass again. Well, Trixie will drink to that, she said, offering the glass to Twilight. Trixie and Twilight, Equestria's greatest and powerful showmare team. We're much more than that, Trixie. The words died Twilight's tongue, and the shock of strange urge to say that gave her pause. The wine was clearly getting to her. She was starting to make sense of the whole more than friends thing, though it wasn't really making sense. A hiccup brought her back to the present, where Trixie was waiting eagerly to accept the toast. Mentally sick of herself, Twilight looked at her glass again and clinked it against her partner's. Twilight and Trixie, she said with a smile. As the two of them rose their glasses to their lips, Twilight put the thoughts in the back of her head, where they belong, and he saw the sensation of the last of the wine draining from her glass. Cuddliness. Warm, unphysical cuddliness. Whatever it was upon Twilight's head it rested, it was the best pillow she ever had. Most of her body was still numb, probably from the wine, but she managed to crack a smile all the time, saying, good nap. There came a muffled grunt from beside her. She felt the pillow shift a little. It wasn't exactly an uncomfortable sort of feeling, but it reminded her that she should probably check what time it was. Slowly, softly, she craned open her eyes. It was met with a view of the darkened bedroom. The fireflies in the lamps had been roused, or even covered from the night before. The only light in the room was the pale moonlight creeping in through the gap in the balcony curtains. And it certainly wasn't very much. Twilight tried to reach up and rub her eyes, but found that her hoof refused to move. It was stuck under something. That's when she noticed her pillow. Craning her neck, she saw that Trixie was curled up on the couch beside her, and with her chin resting gently on Twilight's own back. Her snug cloak wrapped around Trixie's belly, which rose and fell softly with her breathing. She could actually feel the Showmare's heartbeat. Twilight's breath caught in her throat. She could remember closing her eyes for a second, curling up onto the couch, but she and Trixie must have dozed off together. Her heart started to thump faster. Heat started to rose to her cheeks. See, I didn't understand. It was too warm. She suddenly needed air. Lots and lots of air. Carefully as she dared, she extricated her hoof from beneath Trixie. She pressed the Showmare's tail aside with her nose, trying desperately to ignore its wonderful softness. She set one of her back clothes down on the carpet, and then sliding herself out the couch. Closing her eyes as tight as she was careful not to jostle Trixie too much. She really didn't want to wake her. When she finally got herself free, she held Trixie's chin with a hoof and lowered gently down onto the couch pillows. The sleeping mare stirred, then shifted, burying her nose in her mane, grumbling something along that sounded unnervingly like Twilight. The lavender unicorn shook herself and took a few steps back. That she hadn't woken Trixie was a small comfort. Having so distance between them made it easier for her to think clearly, but still felt a sense of anxiety, staring at the sleeping beauty on the couch. She made for the balcony door, pulled aside the curtains and was outside before she even knew what she was doing. As she heard a click shut behind her and felt a cold breeze on her face, she let out a sigh of relief. It was late. Manhattan was dark and a full moon hung in the cloudless sky. Twilight drew open the railing and looked idly out in the dim light of the slumbering city, before turning to the horizon. The shock began to fade away, little by little, as she took steadily, soothing breaths through her nose. After a few long moments, it had gone completely, leaving her with a calm, very much awake mind to look back on the little panic attack. She couldn't help but let out a little chuckle to herself. What a silly thing to panic over. So like she woke up, having drooled over Trixie's coat or something. The chuckle led to another quiet sigh. For all the time she spent with Trixie over the past, however long it was, it seemed to be getting hard to understand what was between them. Friends, partners, a team. She had friends. She had sleepover friends. And woken up next to Applejack, Rainbow Dash, and Rarity at least once each. She never panicked and certainly never felt flushed. There was no reason to. She'd been part of a team with those same ponies, Blitzrise and Pinkie Pie, but this was hardly like that at all. Teammates relied on one another, but that was only the similarities you could make between the two relationships. Granted, she never had a partner before, but being partners was pretty much the same as being teammates, wasn't it? The only difference was just the two of them, and the whole thing was a little more intimate. A frown deepened. There was something between her and Trixie. She could feign ignorance all she wanted, but it was becoming clearer every day. First it was a smile, a few words, and a satisfying warmth in her chest. Then it was a touch here and there, a hug, closeness that any she had ever felt before. Glances, wistful gaze, long stares into one another's eyes. Those moments she felt drawn towards Trixie, mind blank and throat dry. She closed her eyes. I'm not a child. This should make sense. It does make sense. I know it does, but... In reality, there was only one thing she thought it could be. But that had to be wrong. There must have been something she missed, something she overlooked in the stressful task of helping Trixie back on her hose. No, wrong fic. There had to be, because if there wasn't, that would mean. Twilight opened her eyes and gazed out towards the moon. More than friends. Oi! You know now! Princess Luna? Yes! You choose your keys! And he said, sort of. He read about this before, but never in any textbook. It was all fairy tales, storybooks, make-believe. Nothing worth paying much attention to, having beyond enjoying to read, or so she thought. Something on your mind, Twilight? Twilight started, but she didn't jump. She closed her eyes a little brief breath of relief. Princess, you startled me. Wait. Which princess? Let's see. Scanning down. Okay, it is Celestia. Thick? Equestria has 3 princesses. At the time of this story, there were 2. One of them has been known to visit ponies at night. So just don't write down princess and expect me to think it's automatically Celestia. Describe Celestia's voice for a second. Because otherwise, I'm going to be a little confused. I really did think it was Luna, who should be having some screen time right about now. Twilight started, but she didn't jump. She closed her eyes and let out a sigh of relief. Princess, you startled me. My apologies, dear. I always try to announce myself before I appear like this. But I tend to get that reaction a lot. Oh, I wonder why. Twilight shook her head and looked up as Celestia joined her beside the railing. Is everything all right, Princess? Quite all right, yes. Celestia confirmed with a smile. I hope you forgive the intrusion it seems I'm making. Quite a habit these late-night visits. There's something alluring about moonlit balconies, don't you agree? Alluring? Twilight repeated. Well, I suppose so. That was a jest, Twilight, said the princess gently. I was simply out for a flight, and happened to notice my faithful student was looking a little lost. Simoda glanced around the balcony. Your partner's not with you? No, she's sleeping, said Twilight. Celestia nodded sagely and turned her gaze to the horizon. I'm not surprised. After seeing that performance earlier, you both did wonderfully, if I may say so. Twilight smiled. Thank you. So, why are you not with her? The princess asked. Surely you are just as exhausted as she is. So I'm led to believe that there is something else to keep you awake. There was a short pause as Twilight mulled in response. I was, but I woke up and started thinking about... She gulped a reflex to refocus her eyes on the side of the princess's head. About her. Is that so? Said Celestia coolly. She didn't so much turn to oblige Twilight by meeting her eyes. And these thoughts are bothering you? No, not exactly, said Twilight. They're confusing, but not really bothersome. Beyond a grunt, the princess made no other comment or effort to press the matter. A silence fell between them. Twilight wasn't sure whether or not she was grateful for that. It would have been a little embarrassing to talk to her mentor about a matter like this, but it also would have been enlightening. They stayed in silence for a few moments before Celestia spoke up. Do you have any idea what she has planned for after the display? She asked. Twilight threw her a questioning look. I'm sorry? Trixie, Celestia explained. From her demeanor, I judge she is almost certain she's going to win. So I wonder, where does she plan to take herself after Manhattan? The question took a sigh to sink in. Twilight spent a few good seconds thinking about it before being struck by a sudden realization. The wind seemed to stop blowing. The eerie silence that followed with it brought a disturbing line of thought in the wake of Celestia's question. After... Twilight breathed. Now she thought about it, the display was the only reason Trixie had come back to Ponyville in the first place. It was her reason for staying for so long without enough to become friends with Twilight. It was the only reason they were still together. Has she not mentioned anything to you? Celestia asked. Twilight slowly shook her head. The implications still setting in. What happened after the display? When Trixie no longer needed her. She had no doubt they would remain friends, of course, but still, Trixie was a traveling showmare. She traveled. Blake, Ponyfield, Twilight. They're all just another page in her story. Is something wrong, my faithful student? Twilight shook herself again and stared down at the railing, breath becoming heavier than normal. She tried to say it. I'm not sure, she said. She's been on the road most of her life, so after this, she'll probably continue her travels. Celestia finished with a comprehending nod. And you are afraid you won't see her anymore. The words, spoken by Twilight's elder, wiser mentor, stung her deeply. They made sense. Why wouldn't they? They were true, after all. Just as she was closing her eyes to try and make sense of she was feeling, a warm, feathery white blanket draped over her back. She looked up to meet Celestia's smiling eyes. Do you worry that you will lose her as a friend? The princess asked. That she will forget you when she leaves. It's not that, said Twilight. I know we'll still be friends, but it's just that I've gotten so used to her being around, I can't imagine what it would be like if she were just suddenly not there anymore. The princess closed her eyes and nodded. I understand. I understand she feels that way about you as well. She gave Twilight a sympathetic look. But such is the life of a pony who lives for the road. She no longer would abandon that life that you could leave behind Ponyfield friends to join her on her travels. Twilight understood the words, and she nodded along with them. Though in the back of her mind, she nurtured a secret thought. Could I do that? She wondered. Could I leave behind Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash and every pony, if it meant that I could stay with Trixie? Logically, it was easy to answer. She could have just abandoned her life and go off on some adventure, leaving behind everything she knew. She could have traded a life with all of her friends for a different life with a single one of them. Not logically. Unless, of course, she had a reason powerful enough to forego that life in favor of staying, Celestia continued thoughtfully. But I could scarcely imagine that it could convince her to do that, can you? Twilight's mind was already working in overdrive, so much so she was beginning to feel the beginnings of a headache above her eye, when so she didn't want to stop. This bond they shared, it was strong. Twilight knew that much for sure, but was it strong enough? Was being with Trixie more special than being with all her friends? It was an impossible question. I don't know, said Twilight, lowering her gaze to the ground in defeat. It had to be something very special. Indeed, said the princess. There seemed to be all too short silence before Celestia sighed, after waiting for Twilight's back, leaving an uncomfortable chill in his place. Curious, the lavender mare threw her mentor a questioning look. You'll have to forgive me, said Celestia, looking out over the city. I believe I still owe you a cup of tea. We still had to cut this visit short once again. I spotted a pair of my guards on the prowl, no doubt trying to track me down. Track you down? It could be difficult for a princess to find some time to herself these days, with formality and tradition and such, said Celestia. She gave Twilight a conspiratorial kind of smile. Thus, I occasionally allow myself this little misdemeanor of sneaking out. Twilight simply blinked, dumbstruck as Celestia lifted up a hoof, pressed it against her own hooves in a sussy gesture. When she lowered it, she got a tickling laugh before laying down to cross the necks with Twilight. How much do people want to bet that this was actually an episode? People would blame Celestia for that and condemn her too? Oh, please. We all know that some of these Celestia haters blame her for sneezing wrong. True, Dinobot, true. I'm sorry I can't be more of help, my dear. Perhaps you should talk to Trixie about this. If she does feel the same way, the two of you may be able to work something out. At the touch of reassuring words, Twilight managed to smile and closed her eyes. Thank you. I might just do that. Celestia held there for a moment longer, before standing up and unfurling her wings. She flashed Twilight one final smile. Farewell, Twilight. I shall try to stop invading your balconies, though I fear I may not be able to help myself. Twilight let out a giggle. I don't mind, Princess. Good night. She lowered her head. In another moment, the princess was gone, leaving her alone again. Sitting out there in the balcony was certainly an option, but didn't seem very appealing. In the princess's wake, a blanket of drowsiness quickly began to drape over Twilight, as she brought a hoof to her head in an instinct. I need to rest, she told herself. Clear my head, and I can focus on tomorrow. The balcony door yielded to her gentle puss. She slid to the side without a sound. A glance over at the couch told that Trixie was still sleeping soundly, her nose buried beneath one hoof, whilst the other sprawled lazily out in front of her. A thoughtful look brightened Twilight's lips and hollows, and led her to the couch. As always, Trixie looked adorable when she was asleep. Completely nice and serene. Even just standing there, watching her, Twilight's thoughts began to come more clearly. I want us to stay here together, she mused, but I care about my friends. I don't know if I could really leave them in Ponyville. She reached out and gently touched run the hoof through Trixie's mane. It was soft and sleek as ever, and the rhythmic pressing did wonders to soothe Twilight's nerves. But maybe I could. She tilted her head and frowned thoughtfully at her sleeping partner. Have you thought about this, Trixie? Would you give up traveling if I asked you to stay with me? Would you let me leave everything behind and come with you? A silent sigh. Twilight stopped rusting and climbed up onto the couch. Lying down on her belly opposite Trixie. Following gentle orders, she shifted her head to press up against Trixie's outstretched fetlock. That's firmly enough she could feel its warmth against her cheek. All the while, she kept thoughtful eyes on Somer's half-covered face. A reason powerful enough. That's what Celestia had said. Whatever they could decide, they finally got around to talking about. They both needed their reason to stay together. Twilight's reason was laying right in front of her. Did Trixie feel the same way? I'll give her a reason, Twilight thought as her eyelids started to droop. I'll show her I can get her what she wants. I'll show her that I can get her what she wants. I'll win the display. Whatever it takes.